Mhm. Hello and welcome. My name is Robert Lyon here with Gino Nadarov. We're going to you live and direct. We're going to be talking about credit, how to build credit fast. But I think we should start with why you should build your credit first. Right
Yeah.
now in the world, there's this very interesting time with finances, right? And the big banks are, going bankrupt or whatever's happening, and they're trying to switch over to a digital currency. We're in a big shift in the marketplace, I would say. And I think you should really take this year to get your credit right, and then also use that credit to make sure you get access to as much capital as possible. But what do you think of, first of all, why should they care about their credit, Gino? I know you're passionate about this.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, credit is, your, I think people that misunderstand what credit is, I think they misunderstand that, oh, the banks are just trying to make money off you or whatever. I think it's more related to your ability to pay back your debt by using credit. So
Hmm.
credit is, in a way, credit is a digital currency. It's
Right.
a currency that you don't see, you don't feel, you don't touch. It's on your credit
Yeah.
card, right? Just like you go swipe your thing and then you get yourself your latte.
Right.
But
The original crypto.
your original crypto,
Cryptic currency.
I I've been using crypto before things even existed. But at the end of the day, it's the credit card is an arbitrary number, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't even exist. So if credit, doesn't, like, a number on the credit card, whatever your limit is, if
Hmm.
that is a arbitrary number that the banks decided that this is what you deserve, so wouldn't you want that number to be as big as possible, right?
Right.
So essentially, and that gives you access to that limit, right? That high limit card or whatever. You can use that. Obviously, you should be responsible and pay it back. But the
Hmm.
main thing is, credit is a foundation to build your credibility over time, and
Right.
you're building a history by every payment that you make. The payment histories, your overall utilization of your credit cards, your overall credit limits, affect your credit. You have your five factors that we discussed before, making sure you have your age, keeping your age, high. Don't always be applying for new credit. And that the fact that this is all factored in is because they want to see how well you can manage money that's not yours, essentially. So it's, if I'm giving you money, how would you manage it, right? So it's
Hmm.
if you can't manage other people's money, you sure hell can't manage your money. So it's like you got to be able to manage both your credit and other people's credit, and being able to build credit fast is a key to ability to access money. But the overall credit ability is, keeping credit a priority, making sure that you pay your bills on time, making sure that you have all your ducks in a row, so you're not wondering, oh, when your payments are due. I would recommend putting all your payments in automatic payments all the time. But basically, credit is a very powerful thing. It's connected to crypto in a way where people don't realize it, because it is a it's arbitrary number that exists in the banks that we're able to access, essentially, right? It's like
Right.
it's getting into a different realm, besides, hard. I just had some cash earlier here, but I had like $10,000 on my table earlier today. Like, here's like, here's about, like, $1,000 worth of 20s. So it's like,
Yeah.
I just start throwing out cash. But this is old news, right? This is old. Then who wants to
Yeah.
carry this around anymore? It's like,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's a matter of, like, having that ability to just not have to carry money, but also being able to access thousands of dollars on a plastic card.
Yeah. Whenever we go live, you just gotta have stacks of cash just laying around.
I just happen to have this. I had some guy drop some thousands earlier today because my cousin
Yeah.
was coming from Russia, so
Oh, cool.
he's bringing the stacks.
Nice, man. But yeah, and like just from what we've learned, as we go through this journey with Credit Leverage X, credit is kind of everything, but it's all about, first you got to fix your credit, right? And you got to be responsible with it. But what's cool is you can even borrow other people's credit with trade lines and stuff. But if it wasn't for credit, like one thing I want to go back to what you were saying is like, if it wasn't for credit, we'd be screwed, right? It's so hard to get money from your uncle or somebody else who's like out there. Like I need to borrow $20,000. Like, what are you gonna do? You know what I mean? If you're like a
Yeah.
regular person, you're gonna go ask your friends, your grandpa, your grandma. Like, they're not gonna give you $20,000. But if you work on building your credit score, you can go to old Uncle Chase, or Amex or whatever, and they'll give you, $20,000, $50,000 that you can then use to invest. And then the key thing is that it's not money that you should really be using to, buy groceries or, go out to the club or buy dinner. It's something that you should be using to make more money so that you can really get going with what you're trying to do. You want to take your personal credit and you want to maximize your personal score, and then you want to go and get access to the capital and you want to use that money wisely. But back to like what we've learned on how to build credit, the biggest factors are going to be like your age, keeping your utilization at a certain ratio. So utilization, some people don't even know what that is, but it's like, let's say you have $100,000 in credit. If you use more than $30,000, your credit's going to take a hit, right? Because you've used 30%. For some reason, 30% seems like the magic number with the banks. If you use more than 30%, your credit's going to dip like, I don't know. I've seen it go down like 40 points just because they've like gone over a certain threshold on all their credit. And the other thing is age. You want to have a long history with these banks and shows that you have a relationship. Whether that's a credit card, a car payment, a mortgage, you want something that's showing that you've been making on-time payments every single month for the long run. Those are the two like main things. And then there's like credit mix, which is just kind of like if you have a variety of stuff. But you want to have good credit history. You want to understand how utilization works. And then, Gino, can you explain how to make on-time payments? Because I know there's like two statements, right? There's one statement, like you can use the money on the card, right? And then you can pay it off before it states, right? That's kind of like one of the hacks.
Yeah.
Can you go into that one?
You can use the statement date as a means to be able to make multiple payments. So it's, your statement date is basically the time that the banks are to the bureaus. So you want to make sure that if you're gonna make you do it before the statement date. So, and then you can make either make multiple payments within the, that way it shows that you made multiple payments to that account multiple times within the statement date. So the goal is to be able to maximize the amount of payment history by providing and creating automatic payments for your set up yourself for automatic payments. I mean, I know it sounds if you don't have the money, I get it, but at the end of the day, like, even if it's a minimum, set it up for minimum payment, right? You want to make sure you pay your minimum regardless of whatever. The last thing you want, okay, is to not make a minimum payment.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's
get
a late payment. That's
like
the worst
late,
thing.
And well, that's what I'm saying. The minimum payment will result in a late payment. And once it goes to late payments and they report to the bureaus, it's out of their hands. It's reported. It's going to report on your credit report. Your credit score is going to tank, by at least 60 points, right?
Yeah, and I think late payments stay on your credit for longer than a bankruptcy. Like it's like 20 years or something screwed up. So if you get more than one late payment, you're gonna want
because the late payments, it's pushing for not being proactive.
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
No, then you're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I think it's finally catching up with us. And you're back. You're good.
Oh, okay. I was
saying, late payments are the worst.
I thought I was getting cut out. It looks like you're getting cut out. Is it me or you?
We're both getting cut out.
So
spitting too much fire.
Late payments are going to affect your. Yeah, the late payment that we're having now is basically that we've had clients get late payments just because they didn't make a minimum payment, and then removing late payments, it's harder sometimes because you got to prove why you were late, right? You got to discuss the purpose, and you got to provide a reason for whatever reason, right? You know, if you could, and usually it's like, well, you know, I had identity theft, or somebody stole my credit card, or I lost my card and I never got a bill in the mail, right? Or whatever it is, like. But essentially, you don't want to go through that process. You know, credit repair is not a
Yeah.
fun process. You don't
No.
want to do credit repair if you don't have to. Okay, credit repair is for people that have already made mistakes in their life, and they want to go ahead and go through a process of, you know, cleaning up their credit and going through a repair process with things that shouldn't be reporting. We, you know, we can help you remove, and those are, you know, we do that complimentary within Credit Leverage X. You know, Credit Leverage X wants to help you get your credit where it needs to be, but you need to help yourself by taking the proper action and being responsible for your credit and taking it seriously. I
Yeah.
think that's the biggest important thing. People don't take credit seriously. They don't take it as a means to an end, or they do take it as a means to. They don't really look at it as a means to access money. They don't look at it as a way to access other people's money and be able to leverage that money and create a passive income. You know, getting your credit to where you want it to be is going to get you the passive income faster. So, you know, if you
Hmm.
want to, if you want to be financially free, you know, if you don't have money sitting in the bank, or you don't have money at home or wherever, you need to be able to get money, right? And you're either going to have to work for it, or you're going to have to go ahead and fix your credit and be able to, you know, go back to the bank, and hopefully the bank will be willing to give you some credit. And if they're not, you're going to have to build that relationship again. And
Hmm.
build, you know, the worst thing that you know, when I went through my rehabilitation of credit,
Yeah.
I felt that I had to, my biggest, you know, I guess, I don't know, I felt like I needed to rebuild my relationships, and my
Right.
relationships for the banks was something that I took for granted, you know,
Hmm.
and being able to have the relationships with the banks was what really made me realize how important it is to be able to keep my word, besides, you know, pay the bill, right? Make sure that I don't want to screw up their connections with me, because they're not going to want to give me more money, and then that cuts you out. Once you get cut out from the, you know, I guess you want to call it the crypto world, or the
The
credit
banking
world, right?
system.
The
Yeah.
banking system, whatever. But, you know, once you get cut out from the banking system, you are no longer able to access other people's money unless you have like a grandpa or grandma or some guy that's
Hmm.
deciding to give you money, or a private lender that is going to charge you interest. But, you know, whether he's going to look at you or not, whether you have work experience or not, they'll give you that money. Otherwise, you can't go do real estate. You can't go open up a business. You can't start anything if you don't have credit.
Yeah. You said something kind of interesting that I'm stuck on now. It's like people just don't take shit as serious as they need to. I feel like we're coming into an age where, you know, this next generation thinks everything is fake. You know, they don't take it seriously. Like somebody is giving you a card that has real money, but they're expecting you to pay it back, and you need to take that serious. People don't take it serious. They just go max it out and throw it away, and they think, oh, I just got a bag, right? And that's not the way you need to go about life. Like there's serious games being played right now, and you're if you don't take your life serious, you know, the world is going to run you over, you know, because they're not going to care about you. They're not going to give you a second chance. So that's kind of the biggest thing. Credit stands for credibility, right? So you're building your credibility with the banks, and if you want the banks to take you seriously, then you need to take the banks seriously, and you need to, you know, make sure that they are a priority, and that you pay them on time, and that they get whatever it is that you guys promise. You work on your relationship with the bank, and you take it seriously. That's pretty much how you build credit. I was watching this little short clip, and he's like, you want to hear the secret to credit repair? You look at first, you pull your credit, you look at it, and then you pay all that shit. Your credit will go up. And it's like, dude, right? We're over here like squirreling and like sending letters and yelling at people like, you just pay, try and pay your bills. Okay, that's another story though, because there's everybody's in a
Yeah,
certain situation. You know, that was just a joke, but
that,
you know,
that's true. That's a
it's
very, at the end of the day, like, you know, if you can pay your bills, pay it off, right? If you
mm-hmm,
can't pay your bills, then you need to it's going to require you
yeah,
to have a level of understanding where you need to be able to, you know, make an agreement with the bank which is what I had to do when I through my credit journey. I had to, figure out a way. Well, like I had invested so much money, over $350,000 in personal business credit invested into real estate. And
Hmm.
as a result of that, I had to figure out a way to, pay all that debt back when my business partner, kind of threw me under the bus, and my money was stuck in the property. And I was like, whoa, like, what am I going to do? We're supposed to flip this, 6 months ago.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't going to pay that money because that's not my money. But I was gonna have to make an agreement where I could, be able to pay as much of it as I can to keep my relationships with the banks, and
Yeah.
keeping the relationships is what really mattered to me, and that's where I kind of lost my relationships. But then at the same time, I learned a lot, so that's why I'm here. But at the end of the day, it's just you have to go through hell to figure out heaven.
Yeah. Well, and and I mean, everybody goes through the phase where they first get access to credit and they don't really appreciate it, right? And I think everybody goes through their party phase. They don't know what they're doing. Nobody really told them because they don't teach finances in school. They're like, oh, here's $1,000 credit card, and nobody explains, well, if you don't pay this back, it's gonna haunt you for years. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So now that you take it seriously, it's time to grow, right? Well, the first step to really building your credit though is yes, pay off as much as you can. And if it is already in negative or in collections, like that's when you need to go to a credit repair company, or you need to like come join Credit Leverage X, because collection companies, they just know the finance game better than you. They literally will buy your debt for pennies on the dollar and then try and get a profit out of you. They'll call you every single day, harass you, so on and so forth. And like what I get kind of happy about is like a lot of these poor people, they get like hospital bills or they get stuff happens that's out of their control and they have no way of fixing their credit. That's when it's like, okay, let somebody else come in, go to bat for you and remove all this stuff. So the first step to credit repair is pull your credit report and look at it like you're a detective, right? You got to like look at each collection. What are they charging? Is there anything wrong? Is this an actual debt, or is this something from a collection agency? Because you don't have to pay collection agencies. The collectors, they're basically like they're just the cockroaches of the financial industry, right? When everything goes to shit, they buy your debt and they try and harass you to get that money back. You don't have to pay them legally, but if you can't get it off your credit report any other way, maybe you can negotiate and settle with them. But just being honest, like they will buy $10,000 debt from you for like $100, right? And then anything that they get from you more than $100, they're gonna make a profit. So you're basically just doing a business transaction, and it would be better for you to probably just go to court or let a credit bureau send letters to the credit bureaus to remove it, or yourself. And the way that you remove things off your credit report is you find anything that is inaccurate. So there's 3 credit bureaus, right? And if there's anything inaccurate on what they are claiming on any of the 3 reports, you can get that removed, because as a person in America, you have consumer rights. As a consumer, if something is inaccurate on your credit report, you have the right to get it disputed and get it taken off, because you can say, look, that is inaccurate information on my credit report. It's hurting me from getting a house, getting a car, getting a job. It's damaging my reputation because it's inaccurate, and you can legally get it removed. And that process can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days or 90 days even. But figure out what's on your credit report, figure out how to remove it, and then remove all the negative items. That's like the step 1. Do not pass go. Don't apply for anything else. Figure out what's on your credit report. Figure out if it's inaccurate and do everything you can to get those removed. Once you've like clean swept your credit report, this is really big and this is really important for everybody. You want to open credit builder loans. We've figured out that if you open a credit builder credit card, your credit is going to report that you have a new account open, and it's going to screw up your credit history. Okay. So you don't want to do that, especially if you're trying to get funding, because if you have a really, every time you open up a new card, your credit history goes back to 0. Do you have a better definition of how credit history works? It's like the average of all your cards, right? So whenever you open up a new one, whatever your oldest card now gets cut in half practically, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so credit history, I mean, so there's payment history and then there's credit age, right? So
Yeah.
credit age takes a factor of all your, all your loans, your credit cards, your every credit usage, whenever your credit was used to get you a loan, whenever your credit was used to get your credit card, all that's considered a credit age. And then you have the payment history, which is also a history of your payments, and that kind of gives you a good example, or because the bank's a good example of how long you've been in business as a creditor, right?
Right.
Credit is a business.
Yeah.
Whenever you start using your credit, think of it as a business. You are now in business, and you're in business with the banks. So,
Right.
how are you going to take that? I think that, to me, when you deal with the banks, you should be serious about it, and make sure that you're honest, and you're truthful, because the banks are not your enemies; they're your friends. The
Yeah.
banks are there to give you the money that you need to make your life better. Like, you
Hmm.
need their money. If you are rich, then why are then then don't even deal with credit, right? Just use cash, right? Or just go
Hmm.
buy assets, and invest, right? You already have the cash. But if you don't have the cash, or then you got to go work for it. Okay, work for 30 years, and try to get a pension and retire when you're 60s, if you're lucky. Or you have to figure out a way to build a relationship, and build a business, or build a way to build a connection with these creditors, and have a way for them to actually want to give you money. But the only way they're going to be able to do
Hmm.
that is because if you have a good age, like your age is, you have your overall, you're not constantly applying for new credit, and that affects your age. Like you said, if you apply for new credit today, and you have, let's say, 10 years worth of age, and that 10 age is not going to go down in half because you applied for one. It will drop, but it's just a matter of how
It's
many
like the
cards.
average of all your
Yeah,
cards.
it's
Yeah.
it's how many cards you have. It depends on how many cards you have, how many accounts you have. But overall, whenever you apply for new credit, your age will drop. If not, a couple months, maybe 6 months or a year. You might
Hmm.
lose a year on your credit age because you just applied. But again,
Yeah.
if that regular, regardless of whether you are approved or denied, okay, your
Hmm.
credit would drop because you're going to get an inquiry. Once you get an inquiry, that inquiry is going to affect your credit, and you'll see your credit drop. So, it's important to understand, not to just go apply everywhere, and then hope to get approved. Just like you said, you want to make sure that you get all your credits, all your credit cleaned up. If there are any negatives, like derogatory, late payments, collections, child support, bankruptcies, whatever you have on your credit, your job is to make sure you take care of that, and you do it in the right way, where you can at least, um, you know ask the bureaus to remove it. And if they don't want to
Yeah.
remove it, then you need to take evasive actions, and those actions may require you to do an arbitration. You may need to provide documentation. You may need to tell them, hey, I'm not happy with this, because my bankruptcy was 5 years ago. I'm no longer bankrupt, and it's still reporting. And yeah, I understand there's a 7-year period that that we're supposed to keep this on my credit report, but I believe that when the original bankruptcy happened, there was no means for me to even have a bankruptcy, and the only reason I even had a bankruptcy was because I had no choice. It was a situation that was unforeseen, and those are ways that as a essentially, you need to become a person that understands credit, but you don't
Yeah.
have to be the one that has to be the expert. Not everybody is going to be an expert at credit, right? So the
Right.
reason we know so much is we are credit leverage X. We understand credit. We understand what it takes and what it means to get credit in the right direction, and also how to fight credit. And that
Yeah.
requires lawyers. We have lawyers that we work with. We have people that are actually willing to go out and bat for you.
We
At
cut
the
out.
same time, in that
But yeah, it's
will
very.
you know
I mean, or maybe I cut out.
Oh, I think it was you. But I'm just saying,
Everybody
like,
cut
as
out.
long as being able to have people fight for you besides you, it's like, it's an amazing experience not to have to go and fight for yourself when you know that there's, you have someone representing you. And essentially, getting your credit where it needs to be should be your number one priority in your, like, besides your family, your kids. your house and all the stuff that you're paying for, like as necessities, the next priority besides money is, I would say is credit.
Yeah. And it's because like credit isn't sexy, but getting access to money, that's the sexy part, right? And in order for you to get the money, you have to play the bank's game, right? And then once you play the bank's game, now you can have the money, you can go and play your game, essentially, right? It's a system.
Yeah.
Um, but just like to bring it back, the reason why your age is so important is because before you get approved for a credit card, it's like the banks aren't going to give, $100,000 to a baby. That's why you want to build up credit history. And that's why usually before you go into funding, you want 7 years of good, solid credit history before these banks will even like take you serious, which is why trade lines are such a powerful way for you to boost your credit age. Because you're basically borrowing somebody else's on-time payments for so many years that it looks like you are more credible, right? If one person goes in to do a job, it's maybe it'll get done. But if two people go in and they're both credible, or one of them is more credible, the people are going to be more persuaded that they're going to do a good job with the money and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
credit is all about, it's all about leverage,
Matter.
right? Building a relationship with the banks, building a relationship with your own personal credit, paying off all your bills, and then asking other people to collaborate with you to grow your credit is basically how you're going to be truly successful. But yeah, let's just talk about trade lines real quick, because the thing with how to build credit fast, right? Step 1, pull your credit report, right? Step 2, like become like a detective and go over everything that's on your credit. How accurate is it? Is there any inaccuracies that can be removed immediately? Step 3, take it fucking personally and take it responsibly and take it seriously and remove all the stuff off that's negative off your credit that you possibly can. Step 4, get credit builder loans. Credit builder loans is going to basically be the holy grail of boosting your credit score, because what a credit builder loan does, I recommend like Self or some other ones. I'll drop the links in the description later. But it's a loan that you're basically paying to yourself. It's $10 a month and you're paying this to yourself, but it reports on your credit that you have money that's available and you're making on-time payments. So now you're building a relationship. And then basically the next step would be trade lines, right? Trade lines are basically what we have inside of our program. They're seasoned trade lines, and you're borrowing somebody else's good credit history, right? Somebody who has had a relationship with the banks for 18 years, has made on-time payments every single month. They're going to sign you on as an authorized user to one of their credit cards. Now, when you go to the banks and say, hey, look, there's no negative stuff on my credit report. I've got a lot of positive cards. Plus, this other person is vouching for me, and it's on my credit report that person has made on-time payments for 18 years. Can I have some money? The banks are going to be like, hell yeah. Right? Boom. Here's some credit. Here's what you can go. Now you have the credit. The first round of funding, this is the new phrase for Credit Leverage X, is you're just one round of funding away from changing your life, right? But the first round of funding, it's very, very important that your file looks as good as possible. Okay. So you've basically built your credit up extremely fast. Now you've gotten your first round of funding. And in order for you to get that money and to get more money in the future, you have to use that money responsibly. You have to invest it into things that are going to be fruitful. You have to not waste the opportunity that you have with that funding. And you have to build these businesses, these relationships with the banks for the long run. And that's going to be what's going to allow you to be truly successful and how to build your credit fast. Any other tips for building your credit fast,
Yeah, so the credit trade lines, they're just they're supplements. Okay, they're not they're not like, they're like Tylenol. They're not gonna make the problem go away. Okay, if you have a problem on your credit report, it's not gonna go away just because you take Tylenol. It's gonna go away for a little bit of time. It's still gonna be around. So you have to be able to remove your negatives. First look at your credit, make sure everything is where it needs to be. If it's not, pay off your debt, settle your debt, remove your negatives. Then you can get credit builder loans if to build that credibility on your personal credit. If you don't have any primary accounts, you need to get some loans, like that way you can actually build that. I don't recommend any secure credit cards. I don't recommend those. I just say the loans are the best. And after that, go in and get some of the trade lines. as a means to help you establish credit in a way where you're not, you're not completely, you're not a baby on your own. Like you're still a baby. Your credit might still have,
Yeah.
the low age. Your credit might still have, it doesn't have that many primary accounts. It might not be at 7 years. It might not have 5 or 10 accounts, which is, 10 accounts is ideal. 5 is minimum to go into funding. You have to have a certain number of accounts. If you're not there, the trade lines help you get there, but they're not gonna make you independent. You're still gonna be dependent on these trade lines, and the banks are still gonna look at you as a baby. But there's a better chance that you're actually gonna get something than nothing from the banks when you do get these trade lines, because they do allow you to have that flexibility of being able to leverage other people's credit to grow your own. So this is the sauce that really changes it, but it's not the end all mean all. It means you still need to fix your credit. You still need to make your payments on time. You still need to, remove any negatives if you have any, and you need to be serious about it. That's to me, if we take anything from all this, take the fact that you need to take credit seriously, and that's the
Yeah.
way. When you take credit seriously, you're gonna take this, our course, our training, everything that we're telling you, take it seriously, and then use it to help yourself, and then you can actually get access to the money, and then you can actually make that dream come true, which is the dream that you want, which is either financial freedom or passive income or whatever that you're trying to build in your life.
Cool. Any other last thoughts, Gino?
No, that's it. I'm excited.
Take it serious. I'm fired up. We're changing people's lives every day inside Credit Leverage X. But yeah, check out those credit builder loans. That's really the best thing you can do. Pay off all your debts if possible. Otherwise, come work with us and we'll clean your credit as fast as humanly possible, and we'll get things rolling and get you the funding you need. All right. Talk to you in the next one.